Welcome back everyone, to Global War 1914, Operation Albatross. This is the summer of 1918 for Britain, and let's get right to their purchases. We are going to go for 2 colonial troops for $4. And surprisingly enough, we don't have any convoy rating to account for, which is fantastic. The Germans missed on both of their opportunities last turn, so we don't owe anything. We're going to upgrade a colonial troop to an infantry, and that's going to be in Maastrasta. Going to purchase 2 artillery for $10, a torpedo boat destroyer for $6. We get a $1 discount because we have improved construction. A cavalry for 4, 2 camel for 8, and then we'll round it out by going with 4 infantry for $12. For technology, we get to add one to the board, a new one, and we're going to go with counter battery fire, and our second tech will be strategic bombers. Okay, counter battery fire, we'll go with green, and strategic bomber, we will go with black. And we hit on counter battery fire, but we miss on strategic bombers. So we move to stage 1 for counter battery fire. Okay, we do have a free diplomacy roll. We were able to take over I think it was one of the colonies down in Africa, if I remember right. Yeah, I think it was German East Africa that we were able to take. So we get a free diplomacy roll for that. And I think we're going to go for... let's pick on Germany. Let's go for the Netherlands and try to get them down to stage 1. So need a 2 or less. And we miss with a 7. Okay, combat moves. We do have a couple here. We're going to launch some offensives here in South Africa. We're going to send some troops. I'm thinking 2 infantry and a cavalry into German South Africa. Or maybe, let's do, because our units going from South Africa into Rhodesia are going to suffer river crossing. So these guys coming from the north, that's going to be an infantry, well, basically 4 infantry and an artillery between German East Africa and East Belgian Congo. They won't suffer a terrain penalty. But any infantry or cavalry here in South African Union will be suffering a river crossing on the first round of combat. So with that in mind, I think we're going to send 2 infantry into German South Africa, try to take that with just infantry, and everything else will go into Rhodesia. All right, that's the first combat. Second combat... Let's, we're going to put this seaplane on map here in Leon Castile, so he'll come out 1-2. We'll go after that German sub. And we're not going to pair it with a torpedo boat destroyer. And then we're going to try an all-out assault here from Belgium into Western Germany. And the reason for that is we want to inflict as much damage as possible. So that the Germans have as little as possible. Maybe we can thwart their attempt to conduct a mandatory offensive next turn. Maybe force them to have to use their forces in Bavaria against Lorraine, against the French. So let's see how we get on with that. I've got the battle already set up here, so let's do the battle for Belgium first. So we have 7 infantry and 7 artillery that will be paired together. So this is a river crossing, so the infantry would be at a 1, but they're going to be boosted due to the artillery to a 2. The cavalry is normally at a 3, but he's going to be down to a 2. And then we have 6 tanks at a 3. And then 2 fighters that are going to ground strike at a 5. Now the 2 are the 2 tanks. The 6 tanks actually, I mean that's going to really hurt the German trench line, because that's going to raise the minimum by 6 to maintain a trench line. So the Germans are at a 4 because they have defense in depth. So they're going to need 10. If my math is right, yeah, they're going to need 10 infantry to maintain a trench line. So they have only 12 right now at a 6. So if the British are able to kill 3 German infantry, we will be able to go on to a second round of combat. So they have the 12 infantry there at a 6, and then they also have 3 artillery at a 4. All right, let's do the first strikes first. The British have 7 artillery. At a 4. 1, 2, 3 hits, it looks like. And then the Germans have 3 artillery at a 4. And they get a hit. Okay. So, of course, the Germans, I think, are going to lose all their artillery because we need as many infantry as possible to try and maintain the trench line. And then the British will lose... I think the British will lose an artillery. But that's going to mean that an infantry is going to go down to a 1 here on their attacking turn. So we have an infantry at a 1. That's a miss. We have 6 infantry and a cavalry at a 2. So that's going to be 7 here at a 2. And that one's kind of cocked. We'll re-roll that one, but otherwise there's no hits. And that's not even close to being a hit. We've got 6 tanks at a 3. And we do get a hit. All right. And then we have 2 fighters ground striking at a 5. Another hit. So we don't quite get enough hits that we need to break the trench line. We're actually 1 away from doing that. So, the Germans will now defend, and they have 12 at a 6. So we'll do 6 and 6 here. Here's the first 6. 1, 2, 3 hits. And here's the final 6. And that's another 2 hits. So they got a total of 5 hits. Okay. Pretty average. Slightly below. Okay, so the Germans will lose 2 infantry. And they will retain control of Western Germany. And then the British, they will have to account for 5 casualties. I'm going to choose... let's see. 3 infantry and 2 artillery. So that means, well, we currently have 7 infantry. So that's going to bring us down to 4. and 2 artillery. We currently have 6, so that will also bring us down to 4 for artillery. Okay. So 4 infantry, 4 artillery, 6 tanks, 1 cavalry, and 2 fighters. Then we'll go back into Belgium. All right, now let's do the battle for Rhodesia. The Germans will have a cavalry at a 2, an armored car at a 3, and he does have a target select at a 1, and then looks like 3 infantry at a 4. The British will have 5 infantry. One of the infantry is going to be at a 1 because of the river crossing. Okay. And we also have a cavalry, and he's coming down from South African Union. He's going to pair with an artillery, so his attack goes back up to a 3. We have 2 artillery at a 4. And the infantry that was at a 1 with the river crossing, he'll also pair with our artillery to be boosted back up to a 2. All right, let's see how we do here. 2 artillery first strikes at a 4. 1 hit. And the Germans will elect to lose a cavalry. All right, the British have 5 infantry, all at a 2. No hits. And then a cavalry at a 3. And that's a miss. All right, Germany has an armored car at a 3, target select at a 1, that's a miss. And then 3 infantry at a 4. Ooh, 2 hits. Ouch. Okay, Britain's going to lose 2 infantry. Oh, do I want to go to round 2? Yes, let's go to round 2. 3 infantry. No river crossing now, so the cavalry is going to be at a 4. 1 infantry will be at a 3. So we have 2 infantry at a 2. No luck there. 1 infantry at a 3. Oh, I was almost going to land on a 1, but rolled over to a 5. And then we have 3 at a 4. 1 hit. Germans have an armored car at a 3, target select at a 1. That's a miss. And then 3 infantry at a 4. And they get a hit. So 1 for 1 there. Germans will lose their armored car, and the British will lose another infantry. All right, one final round. We need 3 hits here, and I think we're going to go for it. 1 infantry at a 2. That's a miss. 1 infantry at a 3. That's a hit. Nice. And then 3 at a 4. Oh, man. All misses. And not really close either. All right, Germany's got 3 infantry at a 4. And they get a hit. So 1 for 1 again. So Germany will lose an infantry. And I think the British are going to lose a cavalry. All right, so we've got to retreat. One infantry, 1 artillery will go into German East Africa. 1 infantry, 1 artillery into South African Union. And then Germany has 2 infantry that will, of course, stay in Rhodesia. All right, that's all for combat. Let's go to non-combat. We have a submarine down here. In I3, he will come down, let's see. Yeah, he'll come down 1. We need to blockade that. We need to blockade that river. So, yep, in I1. He'll go down to I1. Let's see. We have a strategic naval move of this Olympic-class ocean liner. He'll go 1, 2, 3, 4, and go into port there in Leon Castile. A battleship, or a dreadnought rather, that's in port in Gibraltar will come out and go 1, 2, 3, and he'll just settle. He's not going to go into port or anything. He's just going to settle there in M8 as I kill some of my allies in the process. All right, and let's see, I can move this import marker to this guy here. We've got a torpedo boat destroyer here in A17. He's going to go down 1, 2, 3, 4 using the port in Ireland and go on escort duty. All right. And let's see. Set the camera down for this one. We've got some guys to move here in the UK and in France. So a trench fighter from Picardy, along with an infantry, will come from Picardy and go into Belgium. We're going to load up an infantry and an artillery here in the British Midlands on a naval transport. And he will come out of port and simply just drop those guys off into Belgium. So now the British have 6 infantry, 5 artillery in Belgium, a trench fighter, a cavalry, 6 tanks, 2 fighters. All right. And then we can siphon over some guys from London. We do have, we have this crossing here that we can send over 3 guys. So we're going to send over a trench fighter and an artillery. Well, how about we do this? Load up an infantry and an artillery on this other naval transport, and then he'll send those guys into Belgium. So now we have 6 artillery, 7 infantry in Belgium. And I need to get a red chip. I don't have any more up here. All right. And then the rest of these guys, we can just use the crossing to send over. So that's going to be 2 cavalry and an infantry from London. And I think we are now ready to place... Oh, wait, we got one more non-combat move over here in India. So we're going to load up an artillery. Yeah, we're going to load up an artillery, and he's just going to be dropped off into southern Iraq. That will give us 2 artillery in southern Iraq. All right. And I guess those guys will they'll just exchange places. Okay, now we can place units down. Our upgrade, infantry upgrade, will go here in Maastrasta. We have 2 colonial troops. One will go into German East Africa, and I just realized there's a battle I forgot to do. We're gonna do another colonial troop in Maastrasta. So basically just place the guy that we had there. And before I place any more guys down, we need to resolve this little battle here in German South Africa. So we have 2 infantry, no terrain penalty, and then he has a colonial at a 2. So we have 2 at a 2. Nothing there. He's got 1 at a 2. And no luck there. Round number 2. Nothing. And round number 3. Wow. He got a hit. So we will lose an infantry. And then we will have to retreat. All right. So we lose an infantry, and then he will retreat back to South African Union, where we will have 2 infantry and an artillery left. All right, back to placing down units. We have 2 camel. One is going to go into southern Iraq. The other one is going to go into eastern Egypt. And then I think everything else we have is going to go into home country. That will be a torpedo boat destroyer, 2 artillery, cavalry, and 4 infantry. All right, torpedo boat destroyer will be produced in London, and he will, actually, let's put him in port here in A21. I need to get an import marker for that. All right. 2 artillery will be produced in London, along with a cavalry and 2 infantry. So the cavalry consumes a manpower slot, so we only have 2 left, so only 2 infantry can go there. Oops. And then our other infantry, we have 2 more infantry. One will go into the British Midlands, and the last one will go into northern England. All right, let's collect some income. We don't get anything from trade. Our base is sitting at 41, so let's roll the dice and see how much extra we get. You know what? I forgot to roll the dice for Germany for their wartime economy bonus, so we need to do that for them. All right. Here's the roll for the British. And we will get an extra $8. on top of the 41 that we get as a base. So that will put us up to 49. So we will have $49 in the bank for next turn. And then here's the roll for Germany. And they hit on a 7. So they have 39 in the bank. They got a bonus of $4. And so they will be at 46 in the bank for them. All right, that's going to do it for Britain. Next up will be Austria-Hungary. Thanks so much for watching. Until next time, take it easy. Bye for now.